Are you a volleyball enthusiast? Do you want to take your skills to the next level? Do you like our show? Support us? Join our Patreon community. You will not only help us create top-notch content, but above all, you will also unlock great benefits for yourself, such as personalized coaching or early access to our latest videos. Thank you to everyone who supports us.
Do you want to spike and tip like the pros? We will show you the path from age 7 to 15. During this period, we will teach you everything you need to master the art of spiking. Do you have what it takes?
Spiking can be introduced to children as early as 7 or 8 years old. We start with exercises without the ball to help them understand that spiking is a coordinated movement. The elbow moves to the side and back like an archer drawing a bow, then rises, the wrist drops behind the head, and the arm explodes upward, finishing with a wrist snap. Once the arm movement is mastered, we add an overball, a soft ball that helps children learn proper throwing mechanics. A tennis ball works just as well. We begin by throwing from a kneeling position with the left side facing the target, then move to standing throws at the net. We make sure to maintain the correct distance and foot positioning, just like in an actual spike. Throwing exercises are also used with older players to simulate game situations.
By the age of 9 or 10, children should be able to perform a spiker's approach. The key focus is on the last 2 steps before takeoff. The second to last step with the right foot is long, landing heel first, with the arms swinging back. The final step with the left foot lands with a turned-in toe, which rotates the left side of the body toward the net. For left-handed players, this is mirrored. If a player steps with the left foot heel, first, instead of with a turned-in toe, the knee will face forward, the center of gravity will shift forward, and the takeoff will be directed forward instead of upward. The final step should convert the momentum of the approach into a vertical jump rather than a horizontal one.
The second to last step increases approach speed while keeping the center of gravity low, which is crucial for an explosive jump. A common mistake is stepping on the toes instead of the heel or taking too short of a step. This results in either a loss of approach momentum or again a forward takeoff instead of an upward one. Now we combine the approach, jump and throw, like this talented 7-year-old. We start against a wall for quick ball returns, then move to throwing the overball after a 2-step approach at the net. We make sure the non-hitting arm is controlled by having the player pass the ball in front of their body before throwing. Throwing diagonally emphasizes proper body rotation with the left side facing the net. Finally, we make it fun, simulating an attack against a double block.
In this exercise, we coordinate the peak of the jump with the throw using proper technique. Then comes the real test. Players must catch a thrown over ball at their highest point and quickly throw it back with proper form before they descend below the net tape. Then they move on to simulating a spike, releasing the over ball at head height and following through with a spiking motion. Once they master this, they begin actual spiking, first with an overball, then with a volleyball.
Proper technique requires good ball control. We start with striking a held ball from a standing position and to develop arm speed, hitting a falling ball from a kneeling position. For the spike to the body technique, where the arm swings across the chest, we first train with an overball before progressing to hitting a held ball. The approach should begin only when the trajectory of the set can be judged, but players often start too early, which results in mistimed jumps. Drills with unpredictable sets gradually teach them to time their movement correctly. Once ball control improves, we incorporate it into preparatory games, such as hitting against a wall, which requires executing a true attacking motion.
Swedish international Isabel Haak demonstrates how takeoff positioning is related to approach direction. By the ages of 13 to 14, players start spiking from the right side, just as they did earlier from the left. They then spike from an elevated position on a table, emphasizing the archer's stance. Next, they spike off a set against a simulated block. The same applies to left-handed players, but mirrored. The attack from the back row on the right is similar to the attack from the front row, but with a takeoff directed more forward. A dynamic approach is trained in preparatory drills. The pipe attack is executed quickly, right behind the quick attack. The hitter jumps deep into the front court and lands near the center line. The takeoff is forward in an upright position to strike the ball overhead. The positioning is similar to the front row attack, but finer details are refined. This demanding attack requires coordination with the setter. At ages 13 to 14, players are still gaining experience, and their approach lacks full dynamism.
In first tempo attacks, it is crucial for the player to make contact with the ball above them, not in front of them. With a high set, the approach appears three-stepped. 1, 2, 3. But the key is the moment the ball is set. After that, only 2 steps usually follow. We emphasize these final 2 steps because they remain constant, while everything before them depends on the game situation.
Sometimes a shorter approach or no approach at all is needed. The rhythm changes, but the last 2 steps are always present, even if they are small. Mini approaches are trained in warm-ups, where players spike with a limited approach. Situations with minimal time for an approach are simulated, forcing the player to find a way to take 2 steps, such as after landing from a block.
In the so-called spike to the body technique, the torso is rotated in the air with the left side facing the net, and the arm swings across the chest. For a left-handed player from the right side, the movement is mirrored. This is a coordination-intensive skill, so we start with throwing drills to ensure smooth arm and body motion. Initially, the exercise is done standing against a wall, then in the air, hitting a held ball, then after a toss from an elevated position, and finally off a set. Players often make mistakes at first because they are still synchronizing their movement with the ball's flight. It takes time before they spike like professionals. The same technique applies to a diagonal attack from the right side, except that the torso position must be adjusted since it is not possible to have the left side facing the net. Again, the arm swings across the chest. For left-handed players, the movement is mirrored.
The second technique involves an arm movement away from the body, finishing with the hand to the right side of the player. This is used in right side attacks where the player lands with the right hip toward the net, or in left side diagonal attacks. The body leans away from the spiking arm at the moment of contact.
Hitting over the block requires height and vertical jump, so players often target the blocker's fingers to create a deflection or tool the block. A wall helps players understand deflection trajectories, but 13-year-old boys only gain true experience through drills. They learn how to tool or break through a block, but also recognize what type of spike is unlikely to succeed. Thousands of practice attempts lead to better decisions in matches. Using the block to regain the ball can help create a better attacking opportunity. In net battles, it is an advantage to jump later. One player is rising while the other is already descending, giving the advantage to the one still going up. The next sequence shows a battle using both hands. In this situation, it is again advantageous to jump later, but instead of pushing against the block, the attacker deflects the ball off the opponent's hands, sending it out of bounds near the edge of the net.
The roll shot is a softened attack over the block, effective only when disguised as a powerful spike, with arm movement that mimics a full attack. Proper technique requires targeted training from ages 11 to 12, along with preventing errors such as failing to fully engage the elbow. Mastering this skill takes time. A variation of the roll shot is the side spin attack, where the ball rotates laterally instead of underneath, as demonstrated by Georg Grozer. Training begins from a standing position, progresses to a jumping motion, and finally integrates a set delivery. The arm movement replicates a spike, while the final direction is dictated by wrist action. A perfect execution from the right side is showcased by Madsen.
The classic tip, executed with an open hand, may look simple, but it requires perfect deception. The hitting arm must convincingly simulate a full-power spike to fool the defense. A modern variation of the tip is the power tip, where the contact with the ball is prolonged, borderline close to a throw. Every attacker should master this technique. It requires systematic training and a decisive arm movement. Without a sufficient backswing, effectiveness drops significantly. The two-hand attack allows for contact from above to below, making it more difficult for the defense to handle.
Our players are now 14 to 15 years old, working on attacking against single, double, and triple blocks. Against a single block, the attacker has a clear advantage and can aim the ball downward. We practice this from the left, right, and middle.
Against a double block, the attacker's options become more limited. Elite spikers either hit around the block down into the court or exploit weaknesses in the block. Training on handling the double block is a key part of development, helping our 14-year-old players overcome hesitation and learn to use the block to their advantage.
When attacking against a triple block, players succeed either through raw power and attacking over the block or through smart techniques, by hitting around the block or tooling it, a strategy frequently used by Erwin and Ngapeth. Did you manage to pick up some skills from these pros and execute them using our guide? Awesome! Next time, we'll dive into setting,